Hello, you're flying with Pod Squadron podcast. All wings report in. This is Andy Pod Jobs standing by.
Pod Tracer standing by.
Padawan standing by.
Children of a Lesser Pod standing by.
And Pod Chew Pork standing by.
Instant attack from formation. Mission objectives to talk about Star Wars in movies, streaming, animation, books, themed experiences, and your art and inspiration from a galaxy far, far away. Today's flight plan includes a wrap-up of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series on Disney Plus. We're joined, of course, by Kenji, who's back with us once again. Welcome, Kenji. And
Thanks
for
for
all of
having
you out there, all comm channels are open. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And find us on YouTube, like and subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you know where to find new content. But first, we'll have introductions. So I'll be your squad leader for today. Once again, I am Andy Lowe, aka the Chinese Pirate, director, storyteller, puppeteer, performer, and fight choreographer. On my wing is Tracy.
Hi, I'm Tracy, also known as Hot Nerd Girl. And before the month is up, since it's our last show in June, I just want to say Happy Pride Month.
And my other wing is Lexi.
Oh yeah, that's me. I gotta say something. Hi guys, Lexi, Feral Geek Aesthetic on Instagram. Sometimes I even post. Yeah, it's fun.
And on the rear flank is Jason.
Jason, aka Beyond Forever Studios. Been away a while. Sorry. Good to see everybody.
You were missed.
Oh, thank you. You'd be one of the few.
As I move over you.
Yeah.
Moving on. And of course, an auxiliary support from Kenji.
Hi there, I am Kenji, aka the Kenjinator. I am an impressionist and stuntman and actor.
And of course, we are just one squad in the fleet. We're part of the Geekish Network. That's right here on YouTube, thegekishnetwork.com. And as well as to attack position, we're going in. Let's get right into it. So, of course, we've got an Uber show. We've got the full team here and some. Jason is back with us because Jason has been out flying through the wilds of the Outer Rim. Unfortunately, we did not get to bump into each other, even though we were in many of the same places.
And just this past weekend, apparently, too.
Yeah.
So you're like, I was there. I was like, what? So, yeah, no, ships passing in the night. Sorry.
So why don't you report out a little bit? What are some of your highlights and favorite things you caught? Because it seemed like you actually caught a number of things that I didn't see. Like you were there for the Wilred Hood run, which I was not.
Yeah, I literally was just waiting for my friend, and like all of a sudden they all just came down screaming ice cream, and I was like, what the hell is this? And I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. And so I took a video, and I was like, yeah. And so that was pretty crazy, and took a picture with Billy Lord.
Of course, the Wilred Hood is the guy in Cloud City carrying the ice cream. I'm sorry,
Yes.
the Camtono.
Yes.
Now canonized. Running to pack away his things and escape the Empire in Cloud City. And
Yes.
Every year since I think 2017, they've been organizing a Wilro or a Wilro Hood run.
A row.
I do it, I believe in you.
Ruh-roh.
I think my favorite was the guy dressed like Forrest Gump while holding one. So that was classic. So he's just going ice cream, and he's got it like under his arm, and I'm like, this is fantastic. So it was.
Is that in your video? Please tell me that's in your video.
It is there. He's right in the front. You see him come by, and he's just going ice cream. Ice cream. I'm like, yeah. So he's actually what caught my eye first, because he was like right in the front. I went, who are these? Oh yeah, it's this thing. And then he just came right by, and I'm like, you go, Gump. So
was there a bunch of boom mic guys too?
Yeah, there was one guy had a boom, and I thought he actually was like recording something, but he wasn't attached to anything. It was just a guy holding a boom mic running next to them
with
like,
little shorts.
Yeah, there was he wasn't attached to like a recorder or a camera. He was just going by with them, and I was like, there might be some significance to that, but I don't know what it was.
You don't know the boom mic thing?
No. I know the boom mic.
Oh no, I don't. Is there a story to that?
Yes.
Oh no, I didn't know.
It's in the
movie.
behind the scenes
Yeah.
pictures of like the original trilogy. I think it's actually New Hope when they're out in like the desert.
Oh,
There's a guy, a
okay.
shirtless guy wearing like these short shorts holding a
Yeah, it's
boom
like
mic, and that's
the
become a thing
dolphin
too.
shorts.
Oh, okay. So he was just there running to be in the shot. I got you. So okay, perfect. So yeah, he got my shot then. So
You know, that was one cosplay that I did not see this year that I really wish I did, is someone
Really?
doing Jeans Guy.
Mm.
You know, just like
I saw
holding a wall in
one
front of
jeans
them.
guy.
Oh, you
I
did
saw
see a
one
jeans
jeans
guy?
guy, and it was funny because in front of except for his jeans, he was holding a giant cardboard cutout of the scene in front of himself. And that's the only reason I knew who he was. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Jeans Guy. So but he was outside just taking pictures. So
That's awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
can I tell you? So the Thor: Love and Thunder premiere just happened, and one of my friends
Mm.
dressed as the rock alien that Taika Waititi
Oh
voices.
yeah, Korg.
But he was in
My
he
name is
he
Korg,
was
and,
he was Taika Waititi in like the special effects garb. So he had like the special effects, and he had like the little bubbles, and he had like a cardboard of the head,
Nice.
because that's what Taika Waititi does.
I
When
think
they're
I
filming.
saw that guy. Me and my daughter were there. Just
Yeah, that's
by
my friend Brian.
happenstance, and we were just waiting on the curb trying to just get pictures, and like everyone was like cosplayed like crazy. I'm like, that's great.
That's all my friends.
Yeah.
That's literally
Also,
all
can I
my
just say-
friends.
Yeah.
Can I just say also, like, just having seen some of the photos from the red carpet, Natalie Portman looking something fierce, man.
Natalie Portman was gorgeous. I mean, she
Oh
never
my
got close
God.
enough that I got a great picture, but we saw her from afar because it was just like a beacon of like pure light. I mean, like she was in this
Aw.
gold thing, and it was like
And she's
She's
got this new Marvel
beautiful.
bod, and she is like, I'm
Gorgeous.
showing this
She's,
off.
she's already thinned out. She's already
Yeah.
thinned out from playing Jane Foster Thor.
Yeah. No, she looked amazing. I mean, they all looked
She's got
amazing.
some glow, man. She's got some
Yeah.
fit glow going. I mean,
My daughter was like, Tessa Thompson, Queen. Oh.
Oh.
I mean, everyone looked amazing. Yeah. Our hotel just happened to be like right near the theater, and we walked down and we're like, what is this? Whoa. And so we just stayed for like 3 hours and just took pictures. So,
It's like when I used to live in Hollywood, I like the El Capitan and the Chinese Theater were my theaters,
Mhm.
and it would cause me so many problems when there would be a premiere.
When
I'd
they
be like,
block the street.
"Oh."
Yeah. I'm sure
I have to
everyone
go
there is
around.
like, oh man, I can't turn down the boulevard again. Screw these movie stars. So
Guess I'll go down Orange.
but so Jason, any other highlights or favorite things from Celebration or new merch that you bought?
yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough that I got in the Funko booth because I'm a big Funko guy. So I literally got in there on the first day, and I was able to get everything. So that was a big coup for me because that never happens. And yeah, I did that. That's basically all I bought. And I bought a poster, you know, for Celebration just to be like, I was there. And I took a picture with Billy Lord.
Right on.
And
That's
so
awesome.
There she
that,
is.
which she was very sweet, and then had the really no purpose barricade in front because last I checked, viruses can go over things, but that's okay. And but did that, and then we went to me and my wife and my best friend and his girlfriend went to the Star Wars night at Disneyland.
Yeah, how was
And
that?
It was great. We went nowhere near Galaxy's Edge. You couldn't even get in. It was,
Yeah.
but the rest of Disneyland was a ghost town. I mean, like
Oh.
the longest wait was like 10 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah, so we did that like the rest of the night, and that was cool. And they had like little photo ops you could take of.
I was gonna say, I mean, did you still catch any of the special character meet and greets or anything? Or
Yeah, Disneyland, like, yeah, we saw Chewbacca, and we walked by. They had people dressed like Ewoks. But like legit, like the whole thing, and that was
Nice.
cool. And then they just had like cool little like backdrops you could take, like this one. I'll try to
Sure.
get out of the way. Where you could like, you know,
oh, and be hung upside
yeah,
down.
it was like my
Yeah.
yeah. You took it right side up, and then they just flipped the image, and you're like reaching for the lightsaber. So me and my went through that one, and you know, they had cool little things like that. But I mean, again, it was kind of worth it just for the fact that you could get on everything. Like we did
Sure.
the whole park in like an hour.
That's
So
awesome.
that, yeah, and when we tried to get into Galaxy's Edge, but they were all getting ready there to put up all their lightsabers and do all that stuff. And like there
Right.
literally was like a line just to get through the tunnel, and we're like, no, it's fine. We'll see you next time. And but yeah, it was great. And then I came home and I got like a really bad cold, and then I got con crud, and then yeah, but it was really good. My best friend won the tattoo contest because he got a tattoo there.
Oh wow!
And then he won best black and white art because he did like some insignia on his arm, and so he was having a great time because it was his birthday and he got that, and just all around.
Wait, did he have to pay for the tattoo, or was it like included with something?
Yeah, they had a whole tattoo set up.
Yeah, they had a
with bunch of
tattoo like
artists.
Allie. No, he knew an artist there. He still had to pay for it, and and he sat there for God, how long was he there? Like 2-3 hours.
Oh, okay.
And did it, and then he submitted it to the contest, and then the next day he found out he got in, and then he won, and it was like, wow. I'm like, you're having a great convention.
So was this your first time doing Celebration, or have you done Celebration before?
That was my first year. I'd never been to one before, so I usually do Comic-Con, but that I'd never been to Celebration. So yeah, that was my first. Yeah.
Oh, Andy froze with a very very sensual look on his face.
He was shocked by being my first Celebration. He's like, I hate it. How dare you? You're off the squad.
I just want to go.
He's enthralled by all of what we're saying. Oh, there he is. There he is. Okay. Oh no.
Hey!
There we go. That was a fun game.
Who needs squash sports? We've got
Whacking Andy.
Did my question make it out? I don't know.
It did, yes. And I said yes, that was my first one. Yes.
Right on. Yeah, it was mine too. All in all, I mean, I had a pretty good time. I didn't know really what to expect. It was kind of interesting, much less of a dealer's floor con, unless you're like really a collector. Yeah. But I mean, a lot.
That's because you had to be licensed.
Yeah. And that said, I mean, I liked a lot of the stuff that was there. I did break down and get a plushie Ahsoka.
Oh, you guys, I just realized I went to the Scottish Highland Festival and I was gonna get this stand thing for my Mjolnir, and I totally forgot to get it. Anyways, okay, thanks for reminding me, Andy.
Ruin the night. Well, there's always a day, so where it's like triple the price.
Look for another. Yeah.
Were you there the whole time, Andy?
I was just there on Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
So I was not there for Thursday. I was listening to a lot of the panels over YouTube while at work. And actually, that also I discovered that was actually a pretty handy thing. If I could just watch or listen to those same panels on YouTube that were live streaming.
Yep.
While I was sitting in line for the Saturday panels. Yeah. So that actually kind of worked out. And I was like, actually that's not a bad way to kind of dual wield this all. So I don't feel completely idle when I'm stuck in line for hours on end.
Right.
But yeah, so if you are swayed and you would like to experience Star Wars Celebration, they are back next year in London, England, from April 7th through the 10th. They just announced that tickets will go on sale June 30th. So keep an eye out for that.
Right down the street from LA.
Which means it's probably going to be like New York or Chicago next, and then it'll probably be back in Anaheim the year after that.
Yeah, if I'm going to go to London, I'm not going to spend all my time in a convention. So it's like, it's fine if you're there, but I'm like, that would not be the reason I would go to London. So.
I mean, okay, I could imagine if they do like tours of Pinewood or something like that, that would be kind of cool, actually.
Right.
I mean, something tells me, wouldn't they also possibly do Australia too? Something tells me they would have to do
That's true.
A celebration Australia. I could totally see them doing that. Maybe
or New Zealand even, right? I mean,
New Zealand, China, all of that stuff.
I don't know about China. China is not quite as Star Wars.
Really?
The Star Wars as much.
I would do a New Zealand, Australia. I mean, I have the bonus of like having been there before, so I wouldn't have like my FOMO about like, oh, I'm missing the sights of the city. I'd be like, okay, cool. and
you're just like, the convention, like, there's the Opera House. Okay, bye.
I'd be like, yep, looks like I remembered it. Still white, still big, still really cool architecture.
Like Star Wars Con, or the Shire? Ooh, Shire.
Oh,
that's
see,
tough.
if I went for one, like I would just stay. It's such a long flight. I would just stay and do all the Lord of the Rings shit because that's a goal. That's like a bucket list thing for me is
Yeah,
to do
I
like the
would-
whole Lord of the Rings thing.
I would do that. I would do that if they
Yeah,
had it.
you'd have to like take like a month off and just make it worth your while for sure. Not just the con, but see the sights.
The only thing that I got to see in New Zealand that was like Lord of the Rings trip was the mountain range that got used as Mordor.
Oh.
Yeah. It's pretty intense looking in real life.
Oh yeah, it's really,
Even without the fires. Even without the fires, it's still really intense looking.
Yes, fire.
But you didn't want to pass.
No, I opted out of that. Ha, ha, ha.
You shall not pass.
I kept waiting for him to show up. I was so disappointed.
All right.
I know that was a terrible joke. Sorry, Kenji. That was awful. He's like, no, he's the one who said it.
Jesus, like-
God, this guy.
Shall we move on into the biggest news of the week, which is Obi-Wan has completed.
It's so sad.
So I mean, of course, we didn't really cover episodes 5 or 6, so we'll be doing that. But I mean, honestly, since we are in kind of the aftermath of Obi-Wan,
I forgot my printouts.
let's kind of approach this as a roundup. So of course, feel free to kind of discuss anything specific from 5 or 6 that we have not covered yet. But overall, everyone's how do you guys feel about the series overall?
I know I haven't been on in a while and, watching it and all, but I mean, I know over the course of its run, as always, it got a lot of hate. And this one, I don't understand it. I loved every minute of it. I think it was probably one of the strongest outings for any Disney Plus show, to be quite honest. And I thought it was great. The little girl who played Leia, I mean, she steals the show and your heart. And I think they filled in a lot of gaps. There were some things I wish we still were able to see that we didn't, but hey, they're probably saving that for season 2 or whatever the hell comes next. And but no, I mean, I really liked it, and it made me appreciate the prequels a smidge more. So all in all, 2 lightsabers up. So yeah, but
How about you, Tracy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I agree that it was necessarily one of the strongest outings, but I really enjoyed it. Love the little girl who plays Leia. I feel like they are, there was a big deal when Disney purchased Star Wars, Lucasfilm, and the entire EU no longer became canon. And I feel like these Disney Plus shows are slowly just like dripping all that EU stuff back in, which then makes it canon.
yeah.
So, and Obi-Wan had quite a lot of that in there in a lot of the Easter eggs. So that I really enjoyed. And I loved the gal who plays Riva. I think she's fantastic. I know there was a big to do about her, and everybody was like, well, she's not a good actress. No, it's not the acting, it's the writing. And I was like, honestly, I didn't think the writing was that bad, and I think she's a great actress.
So Lexi and I
like excuses.
So Lexi and I guested on Bingeworthy the other night, and we were kind of talking about some of the strengths as well as the weaknesses. I mean, and for me, I definitely felt a little bit of the, taking a screenplay for a feature film and stretching it into 6 episodes, but it didn't really hurt the pacing for me. It more just, I think it, for some of the payoffs in terms of character and plot, it did mean you had to be a little bit more patient. And I think that is the thing is, I think a lot of the folks who did not warm up to Moses Ingram's Riva portrayal, I mean, a lot of that has to just do with patience.
I
Or
think
racism.
That too.
Well, there's that too.
I think the people who may have had trouble with her acting, I think that they may have had trouble with the fact that she's from a theater background. And so sometimes I felt like she was acting to the back of the house. rather than to the camera that was very close to her. And I think that may have thrown people off who aren't necessarily aware that there's even really a difference in theater acting technique versus film acting technique. And so perhaps they weren't able to appreciate it, but I was kind of able to step back from that and appreciate what she was doing. My
only counter to that, and I thought about this after we were talking about this that night. It's like we're also in a film series where more than once a character has gone, no.
Oh, I wasn't even talking about those kind of moments. Like there were some things where her.
Well, but it's that, like, you know, Star Wars is very operatic in that way.
It is,
too.
and that's why I was able to still appreciate it, because I was like, well,
Sure.
It doesn't not fit. It's just that she's doing the theatricality a little harder than everybody else because that's what she's trained to do, you know. And I can't fault her for that. Absolutely loved Vivian Blair, who is young Leia. I thought they cast that just so wonderfully. And something I noticed was that didn't really come to my attention until the end of the show was that they used less of the original theme. It wasn't devoid of the original themes for the beginning of it, but they really brought in the classic themes strong in the last episode. And I thought that was a very strategic choice because as we see, like, Obi-Wan has not been himself.
Yeah.
He hasn't been himself for most of the series. And then he kind of finally becomes, you know, at peace with the present and sort of returns to himself. And so when you have him making that change, not going back, but kind of reconnecting with classic Obi-Wan there, and Leia starts growing into her own personality, there you get the Leia theme, you get the Force theme.
Natalie Holt did a brilliant job of interweaving her original music with the John Williams theme.
Hats off to her because it felt so continuous. It felt so it felt.
And same with the flashbacks, actually, because with one of my big complaints about Boba Fett, as much as I enjoyed it, was that it was kind of erratic in their use of flashbacks with Boba Fett himself, whereas this series managed to interweave them in a way that was much more organic and lended itself much better to the storytelling. I mean, within seconds you have these flashes, and you have them mixing flashes, you know, flashbacks with current situations in these very different ways, and incorporating lighting into those different ways. And I just thought that was so masterfully done.
I do want to come back to some more nitty gritty and specific moments, but let's get to Kenji too.
Yeah, I wanted to ask what
Kenji,
thought of their arc.
Who, of course, if you remember the last time, or not the last time, but one of the first time Kenji joined us, proclaimed, you know, that Obi-Wan Kenobi is his favorite character in the saga. So how was this? Was this was it meeting your expectations?
It did meet my expectations a lot. I mean, first of all, the fact that we got like this since the first episode, like I actually am on the same page with Jason. Actually, I actually thought this was probably one of the more stronger outings that we've actually had on Disney's Plus, especially for these the Star Wars shows. I mean, I agree with Tracy when she says, like, you know, like Book of Boba Fett kind of didn't quite hit all the marks that we were hoping for, like, but this show clearly did. Like, I feel like it was paced really well. Like, ultimately, like when it came to at the end of episode 5, I was very worried because I was like, there needs to be more. There needs to be more. How can you tell me that there's only one episode left? We just established a whole nother conflict. How could this be the end? But ultimately, I love the way that it ended up rounding itself out. I love how it ended, and it also kind of leaves it up in a way that you know, it opens itself up for a second season where now we get this. We had Leia's adventure, but now we get to have
movie.
now we get to have like we can have like we get to have our Luke story now, and you know, we get to see that Obi-Wan is choosing his Darth Vader proof house. You know, high ground, lots of sand. You know how it is. I mean. I mean,
He does have the high ground. That's brilliant.
He's at the top of the valley. That is the
Okay,
high
you know
ground.
what? I'm so glad
Ruh-roh.
I wanted to like hear Vader say, "Who has the high ground now?"
Yeah.
Actually, I've even seen a meme about that where it shows that point in the final battle where he sinks Darth Vader into the ground.
Yeah.
It shows like this counselor talking, going, "So at this moment, you had the high ground. You had the high ground, and Obi-Wan didn't. Yeah, and then you threw the high ground onto Obi-Wan. Yeah, and therefore, who has the high ground? Obi-Wan." Like, I thought that was hilarious. Like, I thought that was a great meme to describe it. But I do love how, like, we don't, like, even going into the battle, it's not exactly like a 100%, you know, Obi-Wan quite yet. You know, it's not until like in the middle of the battle, like he finally has like that awakening moment where he finally gets to, you know, all of his abilities come back, and he does the whole, you know, arms
the
out.
rocks.
I called it his
The rocks
dog.
flying out.
Yeah.
First of all, I loved that this series also finally acknowledges that Jedis fight with the Force, because there are a lot of times that I'm watching these movies where I'm like, you know, it'd be really cool is if they did, and sure enough, they had that whole thing where Darth Vader leg sweeps him with the rock in the middle of the combat, and I think the choreography is fantastic. Yeah. That final duel was
I thought
great.
That was cool too. I will say, as an original trilogy old guy, you know, there's a part of me that has to silence the little voice that says, "But Yoda says, always in defense, never in attack." You know, but
he was defending his surrogate niece and nephew. Okay.
I mean, of course, Obi-Wan even says, Obi-Wan says, though, the greatest offense is a good defense. So, like, I mean, that's what he studies Form 3. That's all Form 3 is. It's just lots of defense, and then when the time comes, you know, you go in and you strike. I mean, that's Battlefront 2 strategy right there. I mean,
but I would argue in that moment that he's not defending Luke and Leia, and he's not on the defense. He's there because he wants to put an end to this current situation. Whatever, if it's the link that they have, or you know, stopping Vader in his tracks. What pissed me off was, I'm like, dude, you had him right there. You could have ended all this right here, and he walks away, right? Which I know, like, you know, give everybody a chance. Whatever.
That's what I was gonna say, but that's why I personally saw it as him being like, no, I can't let him get to his son and daughter. He doesn't deserve them any longer, almost, because it was his thoughts of Leia and all of that like really got him out of that, like really got him out of the low ground and out of the pit, and like that was what we could like. That's what I saw reconnecting him, where he was like, yeah, no, I can't let this happen. You know?
He wasn't even thinking about Luke until he was leaving that fight, and he was in
Leia,
or no, Luke. He wasn't thinking about, because it like he didn't realize that, like all of a sudden he got a sense that Reva was going after Luke, right? But
I said Leia.
What?
I said Leia.
No.
Because
in the last, like towards the end, when Reva was going after Luke,
I wasn't talking about that moment.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't talking about that moment at all.
So there.
There.
On the same page now.
Which moment were you talking about then?
When he was like buried under the rocks, and you kind of see him where he's like, oh man, like I'm buried under.
There were quick shots of Leia, so like they got him out of there.
Yes. It's her getting her
like,
coat,
yeah, and he's like,
he gets inspired by their hope.
I cannot. I'm the only defense for these children. I'm the last line.
Right. Okay. I see, and
out from under the rocks.
I almost saw that as like he was weakening, and he was kind of like giving in to the weakness in the dark side, and that he needed to see like the hopeful stuff, and so that he was focusing on that, and also because of his connection with Vader, trying to get him out of his head by thinking about these other things that were going to give him hope and allow him to gather his strength again. I guess that's how I kind of interpreted that, as you know.
That's a fair one.
I would also say that I love that they kind of helped tie up kind of the big plot hole that ended up happening from A New Hope that they tried to explain in Return of the Jedi, but they finally get to explain the series, which is you didn't kill me, Obi-Wan.
Okay, let's talk about that scene. That scene was pretty freaking great. Well acted, well staged. What you were talking earlier before, Tracy, of using like practical light effects to
going from the blue to the red, and
blue to the red, so you can kind of have that reconciliation, and this idea of so like you have Obi-Wan kind of regains the upper hand, smashes Vader's helmet, which reveals Anakin underneath everything, and he just gets reminded of everything that he is carrying, like all this guilt for, right? And he says, "I'm sorry." Really great moment, honestly.
They also explained from Return of the Jedi why Vader had that scar I saw across the top of his head, because it's from when he broke the helmet open. So they just nicely explained that, and I thought, oh, that was a nice touch. I mean, you didn't need to do that, but I love that they did.
And also Ben telling Luke that he had a student once, because he started calling him Darth instead of calling him Anakin. And the whole and here Anakin is saying, like, Anakin is dead, I've killed him, I'm now this. So it kind of made what Obi-Wan told Luke, that Darth killed Anakin, your father. Like it kind of justified his wording of that, because people have been like trying to call Obi-Wan out on that for a long time now, and that kind of brought that full circle.
I agree.
They really did their homework. I mean,
also, some great, just across the board, right? Like good design work. Also just interesting in terms of, okay, we've seen a version of this gag before with Ahsoka, but Ahsoka slicing the opposite side of the helmet, so that neither of them are able to reveal the full face of Anakin. Some incredible audio mixing, as you kind of hear the James Earl Jones and the Hayden Christensen voice kind of garble and mix, or what words turn to full James Earl Jones versus what dialogue. Really cool scene.
Absolutely. No, it was very well done. Like I only have like it's like the only issues I have are so nitpicky, like things like when the issues I have with it are so nitpicky. Like the show is so good. It's like it's really like, it's like, really, you're gonna complain about that kind of stuff, like things when Leia, when Obi-Wan comes back and it's onto Alderaan, and Leia sees him for the first time after thinking he's dead, and he goes, "Oh, and yeah, here's your droid," and she's like, "Oh, Lala," and it's like,
I thought that was.
How about the man that you actually thought was dead?
I can't believe people complain about that, because I actually thought that was such a good kid moment.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, my toy.
Obviously, find my toy.
Like,
I said, it's extremely nitpicky. I am only nitpicking at this point, and it's just like how it's. And at that point, it's just. I just sound like an unhappy fanboy being like, well, if I was gonna write it, I would write it this way instead of this way, and I would have knit the man, So
I mean,
what a fanboy,
a toxic Star Wars fanboy.
Exactly, I sound like one of those.
Say it ain't so.
So I will say that on the binge-worthy thing, I did start with a score of a 4, and I went down to a score of a 3 by the end of the discussion. And and again, to your point, Kenji, it's like most of my things were very nitpicky criticisms. There were parts of me that had to just, okay, it's a TV budget. The way that Vader pulls the spaceship out of flight looked a little janky, but you know what? It's like, it's fine.
It's still cool. Badass.
Well, I mean, Vader pulling the ship out of the sky, badass. But watching the CGI ship do a little shaky thing and then slam into the ground was like, okay,
That is
that's TV
nitpicky.
CGI. I mean, again, and I know, I absolutely, I mean, there were little things here and there, like, I mean, even as cool as it is to see Obi-Wan pick up all the rocks and start slamming him at him, it's like, I do get frustrated with special effect CGI special effects that get less specific by going more. It's a very personal pet peeve. I'm okay going, but I still give it a solid outing. I will I give it a solid B, on that scale, and because it does deliver so many other things that I absolutely love. Here's one other thing back in the Vader Anakin scene too, right? Is that I also kind of love, in the grand scheme of things, we have a very iconic Darth Maul screaming out Kenobi, and now we have Anakin, Darth Vader garble mechanical voice going, Obi-Wan.
Now we can combine the two.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And now you have a soundbite.
I'm sure Sam Witwer has already pointed this out, by the way.
I called dibs on the Kenobi. I called dibs on Kenobi.
That's all me. You can have the
you can't.
Obi-Wan, but Kenobi's mine.
Before we move on to the next episode, can we just talk about how Leia's holster came from Tala, and how Tala, like the moment between when Ned B, the droid, and Tala connected when he was sacrificing himself for her, and how she looked at him. I'm assuming it's a him, it could be a her, how she looked at it before deciding that she was gonna pull the grenade, right? Like I felt like this, I mean, this series was very like droid loving, which I dig, but just the character of that, and how knowing that Leia's holster has those notches in it from Tala trying to wipe out the red, right? And how in the end of that episode, she's dressing herself and she looks like the comic book version of Leia that I've actually dressed as, in a tribute to Carrie Fisher when she passed away. Was just like I actually got teary-eyed in that moment between Tala and Ned B, and then again when Leia was dressing herself and turned around and was like, "I'm like a warrior now,"
Yeah, if I'm gonna do things, I'm gonna want to make some changes. I was like, there she is. That's our girl.
Oh yeah.
I mean, let's go into like other like favorite like new characters or additional characters, right? Like one of like the thing that really I love, Kumail Nanjiani's, kind of charlatan con man Jedi thing. I'm like, finally they paid this off, because I mean we've all been thinking of that. Somewhere there's a scoundrel dude using some magnets and some remotes, and now we've seen that, and I hope he shows up again somewhere else now. I just love that gag.
I loved his arc too.
Yeah.
I loved his arc from being just completely morally questionable to like being a bit of a good-hearted rogue. I thought it was a good way of calling in that Han Solo type arc where you start off with like, I'm here for myself. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to do what I need to do. And then, kind of rediscovering that, I have a heart, things matter to me besides myself. People matter to me besides myself.
I did help them. I just like money.
Yeah, but they did that
Just
without
like credits,
which I really liked. Yeah, good writing for Haja, his character.
I want to know what happened to his little kid helper.
That's right. That's true. Huh?
He was a little scam artist, and then he just wasn't there. I'm like, where'd that kid go?
Well, we didn't see him, but we did see the other little boy again,
we did. But I wonder that kid though, like he went off on his own. He's like, I'm gonna be a fake Jedi too.
that little kid actually is listed in the credits as a character from the extended universe, talking
Oh,
about
really?
like all those little Easter eggs
Wow.
that are being thrown in.
Nice.
There's they list him as Corran, and in the EU there's a character called Corran Horn, who is the biological son of a Jedi named Valen Halcyon, whose name appears on both the Underground Railroad tunnel and in the wall where they're all kind of hiding and waiting to get on the ship.
Such a good Easter egg.
So, and he's also in the EU, one of Luke's first students after the Battle of Endor. So if maybe we'll see him in like maybe like the Ahsoka series, or if they do a season 2 of this.
I thought that O'Shea Jackson Jr. did a really
Baby Cube
good job, and then you know what, they gave him a line that made me think, you know what, they might bring him back in something else, because Obi-Wan was basically like, people need you, you're a leader.
Yeah.
Just getting started.
Yeah.
And
Maybe that'll be the new Knights of the Republic.
Well, I mean, we also have the Cassian Andor series coming up, right? And that's a perfect place that you can fit in a lot of these characters as Cassian starts connecting bits of information from various parts of the rebellion before there's an alliance, right?
Spoiler alert, he dies.
Damn it!
Spoilers!
Obi-Wan.
Guys.
Okay, yeah, no, I mean, I like O'Shea's arc. I like the I also really kind of liked the that kind of arc of all of his underlings kind of like going, we're not soldiers, we're not an army. It's like, we are now. That kind of,
and they didn't break
recognition.
continuity with the Grand Inquisitor, so nobody had to get more pissed off about that. So
Right.
We all knew that was going to happen.
Right, but there were still some people like, oh, it's Rebels continuity is ruined. It's like,
That was one of the nitpicks Andy and I had when we were talking about. We're like, okay, how many people are going to get stabbed right through
right.
and just walk away from it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Not Qui-Gon.
Only Qui-Gon.
And I'm thinking, I'm like, did they all study with Taika Waititi's Blackbeard to learn how to get stabbed through the right spot? Have they all been practicing with the
miss every vital organ? So yeah.
Or cut in half.
Yeah. It's a flesh wound.
Yes.
Nothing is stronger than plot armor.
Draw Darth Maul as the Black Knight. It's only a flesh wound.
It's only a flesh
wound. Somebody, the artist, please make Darth Maul as the Monty Python.
Yeah.
I need it.
I mean, technically speaking, when you think about it, the only person who actually gets as close as the Red Knight is technically Vader, because he gets both his legs cut off. He has an arm cut off.
Yeah, but there's good old Stumpy Maul though. I mean, he can't even poop anymore. I mean,
I would love to see them get taken down by a rabbit in the end. That'd be
Look
cool.
at all the bones.
Isn't there that Jedi that's a rabbit? What's that one's name?
yeah.
I saw him walking around
comic.
Celebration. I'm like, oh, it's that guy.
Like,
I was just gonna go rabbit and just kill everyone. So
I actually have that action figure.
yeah, so do I. Yes, Black Series. So,
Yeah.
Let's see here. Other characters we enjoyed. Actually, I really did enjoy. I mean, even though it was kind of short, I kind of enjoyed seeing Sun Kang's fifth brother, fully realized. I know, not as consistent with the animation, but I mean, it's just cool seeing these characters we've seen in animation kind of realized as human characters.
And it's actually great to see them like trying to go as practical as possible. Like, I don't think there was really one CG character really in that entire movie, in that entire series. I feel like Ned was a dude in a suit. Oh, except for Lola. I mean, I also feel like even Lola was probably 90% practical. For the majority of the shots too.
I think that's a really good choice, and I think that probably that I remarked after we commented on the first episode that I went, they took special care I think, to make the lighting and the aesthetics, even though, you know, Star Wars is always pretty recognizable, but I felt like they took a lot of care to make it have a lot of continuity with the lighting, textures, all of that from the prequels, which worked so well to mesh them together with the flashbacks. And there were, you know, a lot of practical makeup. There was a lot of practical makeup in the prequel, so I think it fit. You know, not just because it was, you know, it was fun. It was great to see. And I also think that was to keep the continuity, so it didn't look like
I
it
think
was
only the makeup was practical in the prequels. I think everything else was.
exactly. I think that really helped to keep it feeling like the same story, an extension of the same story.
It makes me think of that scene, Lexi, where in the older episode where, like, you know, Leia just runs into that big creature for half a second and stops dead in her tracks. And I'm like, you know, that was a costume, you know, and it's just, it's cool to see, because that could have easily just been digitally put in or whatever. But I just think her reaction was so genuine too. It's like, well, that's a big mother effer, you know. It sounds, but it was really cool. So yeah.
I will say, in the next season, I would love to see Obi-Wan fight an IG droid, like an IG-88 or like an AG-86 kind of thing, because like, come on, like, I mean, that's what they were designed for technically. So like, I mean, it would be awesome to actually see them, you know, do what they're supposed to do, like seeing a forklift with the creative forks, you know, it's exactly what it was supposed to do.
So speaking of duels in the desert, let's talk about badass Baru.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I wanted to make out with her.
Baru just has like, you know, rifles and plants and shit. It's like, oh, okay, he's got another gun over here.
Yeah, it was actually really cool seeing Owen and Baru being like badasses like that. I mean, it actually ultimately kind of paints the picture that when we see them, their carcasses in A New Hope, you know, they probably didn't go down lightly. They probably went swinging.
They went down fighting, I'm sure. And it makes it that much more sad, because, you know, like it gives it that much more retroactive impact for me, seeing how hard they fought for Luke that whole time.
Yeah, I really loved hearing Owen, you know, like, you know, battle cry out, you know, he is my blood, you know, or he is my own. I can't.
That really got to me. Like, there's a lot of little Star Wars moments like that will get to me as an adopted kid. Yeah. Star Wars has so many adopted children in it. It's one of the reasons I just love the whole galaxy, because it tells a lot of adoption stories, and it's really, really beautiful in a way.
Going with the continuity though, like when Owen hurts his knee, you know, like we see him limping, you know, in A New Hope, they're walking down, inspecting the droids, and he's, so they're really bringing all that together and filling in these gaps. But Baru, her being a badass, like a prepper, I was like, holy crap.
It's a desert homesteader. Like, I wasn't, it made sense, but it was really cool that they chose to play it up. I thought that was great.
And they put up a good fight against her. They really did.
Yeah.
I didn't like how Owen bad talked the sand people though.
I was gonna say she was injured. She was injured, so I think that's why they didn't get outright, you know, destroyed by a really talented Force user. But still, considering that they had a really dangerous Force user on their hands, like, they slowed her down. That's actually really impressive.
Totally.
And what a coup for that actress too, to be able to flesh that out. I mean, after just, you know, before just, I'm just gonna stand here and look at the sun.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, and now it's like, oh, I'm important and I'm awesome. And it's really cool. You're right though. She was a badass, and it was really cool to see, you know.
Yeah, like I was actually even talking about that with my girlfriend and, you know, her brother too. Like, the fact that we actually are able to see these characters actually being so fleshed out, because I mean, I bet you Joel Edgerton, when he did episode 2, didn't think they're probably not going to have me back for episode 3. Oh, they did. Okay. Yeah. And I'm probably not going to ever come back again. And he did. And like,
here he is. You know,
and he's a good actor too.
He's been working on that voice, you know, to kind of bridge, like, you know, what does he sound like to get to the crotchety, Al Cologne that we see in episode 4. I mean, he's doing so much great stuff in this.
So like what Kenji said, though, I mean, to be an actor though and get that call,
Yeah.
I'd be like, you want
Hell
what
yeah.
now? It's like, huh? Well, shit. So I mean, it's like,
Excuse me, I'm
it's
getting
for
a
me.
little excitement.
So,
Yeah.
I'm just shine. So,
I like
It's-
seeing
it's-
we went from the original trilogy that pretty much just had Leia.
Mhm.
And and she was obviously special, right? She went from a princess to somebody who was obviously going to be it was implied that she was force sensitive, to having these women who are not just, or to even like the animated series where you have they're either a Jedi or they're a Mandalorian. There's something about them that's unique, and I feel like in these Disney Plus series we're seeing like normal women who are mechanics, who are farmers, who are moms, who are just these normal people who are doing extraordinary things. And we need more of that, and I just commend them for kind of going these routes. And I don't know if it was intentional or not, but and Tala, I mean, these former these soldiers, you're seeing women who are just doing these extraordinary things, and that's very true to life, I think. So anyway,
Yeah,
that was it.
totally.
No, I will say, like, it is great that we're having so much more of these personable stories, like these personal stories that like, I mean, I guess personable is the right word. Basically, stories that we can identify with. We can see ourselves with, like, even like Lexi was saying, like she's adoptive, so like to see all these different narratives for adoptive narratives. It's like, even though it's like for the layman, it may not mean anything for a lot of them, but there's small things about this galaxy far, far away that we all can kind of take something from it, and I think that's wonderful. And I think the more that we see these, the more of these series that we get, I feel like we're going to get a lot more of these stories that everybody's just going to be able to identify with. And I think I just can't wait to see where we're going to be going with season 2, even with all these Cassian and the Cassian series, the Rogue Squadron series that's supposedly in the pipeline as well. We've got there's the other one with Jude Law that's in it too. Like, I mean, I can't wait. Yeah, Skeleton Crew. I cannot wait to see what we're going to be, what kind of stories we're going to get.
Because
I gotta
representation
say,
matters.
I mean, I gotta say though too, of all things, this show made me even more excited about the Cassian series, because again, I think another thing that is really gratifying about the series is how many different planets we go to, and how many different corners of this galaxy and this universe we get introduced to. And that was always kind of a thing for George Lucas, that one of his complaints about the sequel trilogy was that, oh, well, you just made Tatooine again, except now it's called Jakku. It's like, he is very conscious about every film has a whole different color palette, has a whole different kind of aesthetic or feeling, whether you're going to Naboo and it's very lush and, opulent, versus you're going to the Gungan undersea world. I mean, he's very cognitive of, we're going to different places, and it makes the whole galaxy feel larger, just on a pure design level.
I will say, one of the things that you actually brought up the whole Jakku thing, and that's kind of the things like George made it so that when you see a frame, you know exactly what planet it is. You don't have to have a mix up. You know exactly what it is. So like, but yeah, I get what you're saying. But yeah, I'm so sorry I cut you off, Tracy.
No, that's all right. One of the other characters I was really glad that we got to see more fleshed out was Breha Organa,
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, the mom.
Where you really you get to see at the very beginning where Leia's like, politics is boring. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And as you see her interact with her mother, you see where she gets a lot of that regal bearing from, the composure, the self-control. You could see where she learned that from. And that was really wonderful to me. And then again, just touching on the adoption thing again, when Bail Organa tells her, you know, you're an Organa through and through, like I really actually did have to pause it and cry at that particular moment, because I was like I was like, that's like, you know, my dad telling me the same thing about my family when I felt out of place as a youngster. So
in the moment when Obi-Wan is telling her, because she, you know, she obviously has a curiosity about her birth parents, like I feel like a lot of adopted kids probably do, and when he tells her, like, look, these are the strengths you got from each of your parents, and you know, I wish I could tell you more, and she's like,
that's
you know, you've told me what I needed to hear.
Yeah.
These are my
And
parents.
she looks at her parents, and that, yeah, that landed. Thank you, Tracy.
Oh,
That really
goosebumps.
did land for me. I was like, she gets it, because I remember when I asked if I, you know, my bio mom, can I contact her? I asked it at about like 18 years old, 17 or 18. And my parents were like, yeah, we've got her contact information. I said, oh, wow, like, how come you didn't tell me sooner? You know, I'm not mad, but how come this is the first I know? They go, we figured you'd ask when you were ready. And I went, oh, thank you. You know, and that it felt like that sort of moment between her and Obi-Wan for me. So that really landed. I'm glad you brought it up, Tracy.
I'm personally not adopted, but there's a lot of adopted cousins in my family, and so it's always, you know, it's being supportive and listening and understanding, and you know, and trying to let them follow their path while being supportive of that. And I think that that's one thing that my family has always been really good at when it comes to, you know, our I hate even saying adopted family members, just for the context of this conversation. I'm saying that because they are just family members, but yeah.
So starting to wrap up now because we're almost at the end of our time. But okay, so there's been a lot of talk, a lot of rumors and chatter. Some people are talking about possibilities of a season 2.
Wait,
Some people are
cameos.
talking about a Riva spinoff. What do you guys
Wait,
think?
what about the 2 cameos? We had Ian McDermott and Qui-Gon.
I
we
know,
can't just like
but we
throw
have
those
6
away.
minutes left.
Okay, but we all knew that Qui-Gon was going to come back, but did we all know that the Emperor was going to come back? I don't think so, and that was really cool. Okay, now you can go.
I like how in the little cameo that he had, he was just so damn manipulative.
Oh my God! Well, wait. But the Sith law of twos is that your master has to have all of your emotions, even your hatred, right? And so it was very much like a jealous reaction.
Yeah. Well, especially
also everything should be focused on your master,
on your
hatred.
And in the scene,
nay, Anakin.
In the scene before, you know, he had called Obi-Wan master still.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting.
Ooh, which then in A New Hope he says, "I am the master now." Ooh. Anyway, okay. As you were, Andy.
Okay, so what do you think? Season 2
is going to be Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon.
Oh my God, a rom-com.
Yeah, it's going to be them in the hut going, all right, boy, they're an unlikely pair.
If
one can walk through walls and the other's figuring out.
Thank you for being a Force ghost.
Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, if they occasionally do side flashes to Darth Maul, they can just call it 2.5 men.
Gonna hand him a blue milk. It's gonna
Man.
There you go.
There was also some people speculating that when you look at the lightsaber that Maul gets towards the end of Rebels, that perhaps he built his lightsaber out of parts found from Riva's Inquisitor saber, which was like, that could be a neat thing.
Dug it out of the desert.
Well, they didn't even show. It's so funny because they didn't even show them bearing it. I'm like, are you guys just gonna leave it there on top of the sand? We're not gonna see you in there. Is that how?
Well, apparently, if I ever want a lightsaber, apparently I just started just sifting through the. You know, you can imagine like people in Tatooine with a metal detector going, oh, lightsaber.
Like, oh, another one.
Well,
Nope,
But
I'm
also
hanging this one on the door.
the box that the rescuers had of these lightsabers. We know that those were not lightsabers of Jedis that were killed because they had those in the Inquisitorius, right?
Yeah,
So
they
these
the
are
ones
people who gave up their lightsabers.
like Ahsoka did when she ran. Yeah.
That was actually a really powerful moment when Reva did that because she was doing the same thing. She was kind of saying, "Okay,
I let this go. Which is like she and Obi-Wan had really beautiful moments of letting things go and coming to the present, like not grasping onto the past and freeing themselves to move on in the present, which Vader does not.
Well, and for those other Jedi or Force sensitive, it's like it's a matter of survival, right? Like if they're caught with killed, for her it's a matter of survival for her own mental well-being, right? So it's still all just for different reasons.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Anyway, as you were, Andy.
As long as the Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan spinoff has the theme from Silver Spoons, I'm in. Here we are, face to face. In the fun, we're two of a kind.
Oh, you're aging us, Jason.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm aging me. So
I was gonna say Perfect Strangers, but you know.
Oh, that too. Oh, even better. Even better. You a Jedi,
Laverne and Shirley theme.
Ridiculous.
Vader and Emperor Incorporated.
They're running an antique store on the bottom level of their hut.
I'm just at this point. I'm half expecting like Reva's spinoff. She's gonna throw her lightsaber up in the air. And she's gonna freeze frame like Mary Tyler Moore.
You're gonna make it
after all.
Title
I was really struggling.
Oh.
All right. Well, if nothing else, anything from the chat we want to share? Or
Oh my gosh, there's been so much, and I'm so sorry, people in the chat, mostly Kevin.
yes,
He was okay. I'll read his most recent one because it made me go, oh.
Good old
It
Kevin.
was Skywalkers usually have a harder time letting things go. Usually costs them an arm or a leg.
Get out.
I'm so glad you read that because that makes my joke from an hour ago seem less bad.
It's
So
so
thank
much
you.
better.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. So, you saved me.
anything else we want to highlight, or are we good?
I think we're at time. We're
All
past
right.
time.
We're past time. So thank you all for joining us tonight. We will probably not be back next week because next week is July 4th. So we'll probably come back after that. We'll figure out what we're talking about next. But let's see here. We also want to see all of your Star Wars creations. Do you cosplay? Do you make fan films? Build droids? Build models? Sell stuff on Etsy? Show us how Star Wars has inspired you, and we just might feature you here on the show. You know what? We didn't even get to talk about the fight. You know, because Kenji. I mean, I actually love the whole bit where he starts wielding left-handed out of nowhere. It was a very Inigo Montoya moment,
Yes.
there. It was like, oh, you're going left-handed. Anyways, let's see here. Are we still doing this, Rodney? The Nerdtastic?
No, I don't think we're doing crosstalk.
Okay, we're not doing that. No, okay. So yeah, so thank you, Rodney. As I stutter my lips. Thank you, Rodney, on the flight deck. And we are Pod Squadron. Please check out all of our content on podsquadron.com. Also, like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For podcast subscriptions, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app. Also, follow all of the geekish.
You tried.
We're not standing. We're not standing.
They're so cool.
That was good.
Also, check out everything else on Geekish Network. There's a lot of great shows every day of the week. You can follow us on YouTube and Facebook, and it's broadcasting every day. So we are the Pod Squadron. So I am the Chinese Pirate at Chinese Pirate _ on all platforms.
I am Tracy, the hot nerd girl. One of my favorite things every single show is watching Andy try to go through all the word salad.
All right, guys. I'm Lexi, Feral Geek, Facebook and Instagram, multidisciplinary artist, and Deathwalker in training.
Jason Salazar, BeyondForever.net, Beyond Forever Studios. Look it up.
I'm Kenji. You can find me at Kenjinator, Instagram, TikTok, but the Kenjinator on Twitch.
Yeah.
All right. All wings return to base. Course laid in and prepared to make the jump to light speed on my mark. And remember, the truths we cling to depend on our own point of view. Only the Sith deal in absolutes. Good night, everyone, and happy 4th next week.
Yay!
Oh, bye, everybody.
Hello there.
Goodbye, man.
Goodbye there.